Welcome to the BXG podcast, where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as your butt cheeks to a leather car seat on a hot summer's day. I am one of your hosts, Bretton Beswick, alongside Dr. Otto Octavius' resident intern, Greg Filson. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Just working on that, eighth tentacle. We'll see what happens.
Right. How's everything out in California?
It's good. It's chill. It's cooled down quite a bit, so that's nice. Lovely day today. Got a nice run in. Got a nice swim in. So feeling good. Got my wine ready. So here we are.
It is not any of those things here in northwestern Pennsylvania, where it was a balmy 58 degrees today. And rainy and all of the above. So before we get into the main show, I wanted to address a few things. This is the BXG podcast. We're available every Friday on podcast services around the globe: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, and TuneIn, as well as the Podbean app. Just to get in now to a couple corrections from last week. So in one of the segments, I referred to Captain America and the Winter Soldier as both a Phase 1 and Phase 2 movie. It was a Phase 2 movie landing between Avengers and an Avengers Age of Ultron. I caught that whenever I was listening back to the episode to kind of proofread while I was editing. The second thing was I referred to Chuck E. Cheese as being a Pizza Hut mascot, which is incorrect. Chuck E. Cheese is, of course, the Chuck E. Cheese mascot. And then the third correction is I guess, is a personal slight to you, buddy, because I've constantly been referring to you as living in LA when in fact you live in Santa Barbara, which I thought was the same thing.
I mean, it isn't. It isn't. A lot of people travel up here. It's not that far of a drive. But, just so people know, I don't live in LA. I did, though. I did live in LA for a few months. But I am Santa Barbara resident, Goleta officially, but Santa Barbara, California, greater area. But it's all good.
Okay.
Wine country.
Sure. Wine country. Is that like Napa or?
It's like Little Napa. Baby Napa.
Baby Napa. Okay. Before we get into the main topics, I wanted to get into some listener inquiries. Josh F. wrote in, just like you can, listener, to the BXG podcast at bxgpodcast@gmail.com, or by sliding into one of our DMs on either Twitter or Instagram, or I guess Facebook if you're into that sort of thing. The first is from Josh F. He writes in and says, the topics have been great, but we, the listeners, don't know much about who you guys are. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourselves? Greg, why don't you start that one off?
All right. Well, we met. I think that's maybe one of the key things is that we've been friends for going on, I'd say, 20 years now.
Close to it.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. We just really hit it off quick. Western Pennsylvania, born and raised for both of us. And we went to two separate high schools, rival high schools, but we didn't let that rivalry come between us. We mostly just made fun of it. Yeah, and then we both I went to school. I went to college in Pittsburgh. He went to Clarion University. He just flexed. That was an amazing moment. So, yeah, I went to Point Park for journalism school. I did a lot, better part of my career has been journalism. I am not doing that now. I work at a bookstore in Santa Barbara and at a pizzeria in Montecito, which is still just greater Santa Barbara.
So what kind of...
I work a lot.
Like what kind of... I know we kind of stress that you're the pop culture guy. Like what kind of music, movies, TV... Like give me some of your favorites in those areas.
I mean, my favorite actor of all time is Christian Bale. I stan Christian Bale through and through. Everything he does. I like the old Italian, the mobster movies, Scorsese, things like that. I love me a romantic comedy. Throw that in the mix every once in a while. I can go for that. Music-wise, I do feel like I am all over the place. But Lady Gaga for the current stuff for the most part. Justin Timberlake, we talked about that last week. I've always been a fan. Rock-wise, Red Hot Chili Peppers have always been big with me. The Beatles because it's the Beatles. Today we talked about, we found out about Eddie Van Halen dying. I was a huge Van Halen kid. I think it was my first favorite rock group that I really got into. But I'm down for anything. Really got into Dua Lipa this year. Love dance music. I love stuff that you can just get down to. Television-wise, Seinfeld is my favorite show of all time. I've also really got into, I went into Mad Men when it was there. Still on. Succession is probably my favorite like serious show right now. But yeah, that's basically a good summation of where I'm at. I like baking shows, of course. I love watching people cook. Things like that have always interested me. That's why I work at a restaurant. So that's a good summation of where I like to cook too. So that's part of the reason.
Yeah. So you mentioned we probably met through mutual friends in our late high school years. Like you said, you went to Lakeview. I went to Mercer. I went to Clarion to be a social studies teacher, which I haven't ever been. I did 2 years
Neither
of substitute teaching. Right, sure. 2 years of substitute teaching, then I've worked in juvenile justice ever since. I think as we kind of stressed at the beginning with you being the pop culture guy, I'm the nerd culture guy, so I'm maybe a little bit more into video games and comics and stuff like that. That's more my wheelhouse. As much as I like the fantasy and the sci-fi and the comic book stuff for movies, I too am in the Christian Bale camp as far as he's probably my favorite actor going. One movie that you and I share a love for, American Psycho, that with Braveheart is kind of like my 1A, 1B, depends on the day. Ask me what my favorite movie is. Other than that, whereas you're kind of all over the place, I'm like the guy that goes to Subway and orders a turkey sub every day for 12 straight years. I don't listen to a lot of stuff outside of my comfort zone. I mentioned in a prior episode, hip hop and alternative are sort of my main go-tos. And even that, I think you and I were texting the other day, and I quipped that I've been listening to the same Incubus album for the last 20 years. And that's true. TV, we kind of have a similar liking. Seinfeld's my favorite comedy. The Wire is my favorite drama. There's other shows I like, obviously, but those are the two main ones. Other than that, I think it's all. I mentioned last week, I guess, that Uncharted is my favorite video game series. I should mention that. I would say, whereas you're all over the map in terms of what like music and stuff you listen to, I'm all over the map in terms of what games I play. I have 266 PlayStation 4 games, and they're kind of all over the place. I have Madden, I have 2K, I have a couple Call of Duties, but I also have some smaller titles as well that maybe people haven't heard of. So I'm all over the place in terms of the games I play. Nothing really piques my interest. It just kind of is whatever scratching that itch at any given time. We'll kind of get into that later with one of the quick topics. But I think that's it. I mean, other than that, I just think that anybody who has, who knows us kind of knows what we're about, and new people that are listening to the first time, listening to maybe just one of us or what have you. I think the content will really help everybody get to know us pretty well.
Yeah, I think that, I think I just want to add in there, we're both sports guys.
Yeah.
I think that's where we actually kind of built our friendship off of, and then went from there. I'm a huge baseball nut. If it's an 80s trivia night of baseball, get ready. I'm killing it. So, that's where we're at. But baseball, basketball guy for, the bigger thing, and then college football I love. So just point that out, get that in. We won't talk too much about that kind of stuff, but I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, just while we're on it, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we went live. How about, what do you think of the finals so far?
Yeah, it was interesting. When I kind of thought initially Lakers are going to just dominate, but Jimmy Butler putting up a huge game 3 and calling his shot there at the end. Thought that was interesting. In the middle of the game 4 right now, it's pretty close right now, so we'll see. I'm intrigued. I think the Heat definitely are formidable opponents for the Lakers. They offer a kind of a different thing, playing the zone and shooting threes like they do.
Here's the thing I think about Jimmy Butler before we move on. Jimmy Butler's different, man. He's cut from, and I know I'm going to get some looks at saying what I'm about to say, but it's not an ability level, it's a mentality level. He's cut from the same mentality as Jordan and Kobe. And I say that in specific reference to the scrimmage when he played for the Heat, where he took on the first team with third stringers and won, and let everybody in the gym know exactly what was happening. And I think part of the problem and why Jimmy gets a bad
when he was with the Timberwolves, just want to clarify that.
With Wiggins and
right.
Karl Anthony Towns. And there's nothing against those guys, and they're very skilled, especially Karl Anthony Towns. And then, he moves to Philly, and he's got kind of the same situation with Embiid and Ben Simmons. Those guys are soft. They're mentally soft. If you can't handle that kind of, pressure from your leader, then you're soft. I'm sorry. I just think Jimmy's different. I think Miami's one or two pieces away from being real scary for a couple years.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, when you look at Tyler Hero, who is just a young kid, does not care who's playing against him. That's a great. Bam. Yeah, and Bam.
Yeah, they just need one more like go-to scorer. They're going to be horrifying for anybody in the East.
I agree.
All right, so that was that, and let's move on to the second question. This actually comes from a friend of Greg's in Santa Barbara. He says, "My name is Anthony. I'm a good friend of Greg's. This podcast rocks." Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
I enjoyed your thoughts on digital versus disc when it comes to buying games in episode 1. I personally buy discs, and my reasoning is resale value. What are your thoughts? I understand the convenience of digital, and I actually don't really care either way. See, this is one of those things that I get it, especially, if you're really only buying maybe 3 or 4 games a year. But the issue kind of comes in with when you're selling games back to GameStop and they're gouging you over the price, and you're spending, you're spending $60 on a game and you're getting $10 back for it. In my head, if I'm really just going to wait, I would just wait, a couple weeks or a couple months for the game to be on sale. Ghost of Tsushima, which we talked about in the first episode, came out in June. It's already on sale for $50. So the resale value is kind of canceled out by the sales. The issue is a lot of people want to be day one adopters, and they want to be part of the conversation. I'm using air quotes, conversation when it comes to these big tentpole games. So I get it. The resale thing. I certainly did that when I was a kid a lot. It was I get 8 games for Christmas and play them all till June, and then trade them all in, and then I'm able to buy like 1 or 2 more to hold me over till my birthday. So I kind of get that. It's just, for me, the digital thing's more convenient. And like I said, if you really hawk those sales and really keep an eye on them, it's going to be cheaper in the long run.
Yeah, I did actually as a kid too. Same thing. I also rented games a lot. Did you rent games a lot as a kid? I remember I would rent games very consistently. Well, the problem with that is yes, I don't know how that works now.
I did do that, and they do have rentals at Redbox. But the problem with doing that when you were a kid was if you bought a quick game like a Mega Man game, you could play through it in a weekend. But if you're buying a game like Final Fantasy or Link to the Past or something like that on cartridges that has a battery save, you're running the risk of somebody renting that and deleting your save. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? You're playing with fire there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I rented games all the time. That was a Friday night thing. We'd go to the Showtime Inn at Mercer, and my dad would rent a movie for the weekend, and I'd rent a game. Funny story about that, just as a quick aside. Do you remember the movie Legend of the Falls starring Brad Pitt?
Of course I do.
Did you see it? You know what it's about?
I have seen it. I have seen it once.
Yeah, my dad thought it was about football. Legends of the Fall. Or baseball. So.
I mean.
Bob Bestwick, Legend.
By title, yeah. Legend of the Game. By title, I get it. He's probably horribly disappointed. I'm just going to guess.
Oh, well, you can only imagine. All right.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, EJT, friend of the show, writes in and says, "Guys, I'm loving the podcast. It's a perfect mix of pop culture and nerd culture. Finally, something for my fiance and I can both get into. Looking forward to hearing more from you. We appreciate that, and we want to send our heartfelt congratulations on deciding for a date for your upcoming nuptials." Yeah,
that's awesome. I actually got to see EJ in San Francisco a couple years ago. Cool. We just happened to be in the same city at the same time. It was not planned. It was great. Hung out with her future husband. Cool dude. So yeah, we're happy for them. I've been a friend of EJ since I was, I believe, 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. So long run there. Yep. So congratulations on all that. And thank you for listening. I love that.
Yep. Finally, our last listener inquiry comes from David S. from Carn City, who writes in. And first of all, let me just say this. If you're writing in and saying you're from Carn City, you're running the risk of getting made fun of. That's just how it is. And
Agreed.
I don't mean to offend anybody from Garden City, but I wouldn't admit that I'm from there. He asked, what bear is best? What bear
Brown bear.
is best? What bear?
Brown bear, Kodiak bear. They're huge, massive. I lived with black bears in Alaska for a little bit. There's a bear we called downtown bear because he was just constantly downtown. But when you actually meet a grizzly bear, which is the same thing as a brown bear, huge. They just rip your face right off if you let them. Very scary. Black bears look cuddly. They'll come at you, maybe. Brown bears, no regard for human life. I respect it.
So I'm going to go with whatever bear eats beets and watch Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, all right.
All right.
That's good too.
Well, yeah. Okay. So let's get into now that we've finished our frivolity.
What about Bear Bryant? Does that count?
It's
not my favorite bear. I don't care about those Alabama.
I can't think of that. What about Bear Grylls?
Yeah. Drink your own pee bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Is he naked and afraid, or surviving naked, or he's just living?
He might be. I mean, that might
Grylls?
actually be what he's doing. I don't think he's part of those shows, but that wouldn't shock me.
Right. Who was Will Ferrell was on his show one time. I watched it for like
Will
10
Ferrell
minutes.
was on that. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now that our that stuff. Now that stuff is taken care of. Yeah. There we go. We'll get into listen, my dyslexia is acting up. We have 6 main topics as well as the always popular quick hitter segment. So I'm going to get into our first 2 topics deal with the same character in 2 different iterations. Number 1, Jamie Foxx, whose performance as Ray Charles in the aptly titled film Ray earned him an Oscar, took to social media over the weekend to announce that he would reprise his role as Electro in the upcoming and currently unnamed Spider-Man Far From Home sequel. Fox originally manned the role in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, starring Andrew Garfield as the titular character. This is noteworthy as these 2 Spider-Men do not exist in the same universe, with Garfield's Amazing series serving as a reboot to the Tobey Maguire Sam Raimi films, and the MCU's Homecoming Far From Home iteration starring Tom Holland as a teenage Peter Parker, which means Jamie Foxx will be the first character to cross over from another cinematic universe. So I actually wasn't going to put this in the headlines because we talk about the MCU. This is 3 weeks. We've talked about it every week. But then I started to realize something. I'm going to give you a list here. Jamie Foxx as Electro, Michael Keaton as Vulture, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, Michael Mando from Better Call Saul as Scorpion, and Bokeem Woodbine as Shocker. That makes 5. I'm also going to add in the fact that they teased Uncle Aaron, Miles Morales' Uncle Aaron, played by Donald Glover, who's also known as the Prowler. That's his alias in Spider-Man Homecoming, which makes 6. They're setting up the Sinister Six. I mean, they have to be. If you watch,
what else could they be doing?
If you watch the end credit scenes of Homecoming, Michael Keaton's he's in jail. He's not dead. He's not out of commission. Same thing with Scorpion. I'm not 100% sure what happened. I don't remember what happened to Mysterio at the end of Far From Home, but they have to be setting up the Sinister Six, and that's really appealing.
It's super exciting. I love the Sinister Six. When you brought this topic up, I didn't necessarily think of that immediately, but I was just thinking this seems like we're heading in a direction that I like. I've always liked Electro, whether it was in the comic books, even in the movies. In the movie, I think it's a good direction for this to go because a lot of times people need something a little greater, and if they handle it right, which I think they will. The Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, I've enjoyed. So I think this is probably going to go in that direction. I'm excited. I think anyone that's a Marvel head at all is pumped.
Well, I think one of the big complaints that I've heard over the years about the MCU in the solo films, not necessarily the Avengers, obviously, is that it's just the good version of the hero fighting a bad version of the hero. Here's some examples. Iron Man, Ironmonger. Iron Man, Whiplash, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, guy who rips off a Black Panther suit. The list goes on. And, the interesting thing about Spider-Man is kind of the interesting thing about Batman too, is that as interesting as Batman or Spider-Man are, their villains in both of their rogues galleries, as it were, are far more interesting in many cases than the hero. And the villains, for Spider-Man and Batman respectively, are really what draw people to the series. They've already established 5 of these guys. I mean, really 5.5 if you want to count the Donald Glover thing. Now, with that being said, I have heard rumors that Donald Glover could play the antagonist in whatever the next Black Panther movie is. So he might be on the shelf. So then the question becomes, who do you get as the number 6? I introduced you as the top as Doc Ock's resident intern. I don't think Doc Ock's the move. I'd love for them to go with somebody who's a little bit less known. In the game, the 6th member was Mr. Negative. He's not a top tier Spider-Man villain, but it was interesting because it was different. So I think if they don't do the Prowler route, which even he's kind of, most people don't know the Prowler. I mean, maybe they do because of Into the Spider-Verse now, and I'd love to see more Donald Glover in any facet.
Yeah, anywhere you want to put Donald Glover, put him there, and I will absorb that.
Yeah, but I'm really excited for the possibilities, because as cool as Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and all those guys are now, when the MCU started 11 years ago or however long it is, that was the B team. The Avengers were the B team. The A team, Spider-Man and X-Men. And X-Men and the movies haven't been great in a long time. And the Spider-Man movies are kind of, you feel good, maybe you don't feel good. I never saw the Amazing movies. I never saw the Garfield ones. I don't know if they're worth a dang or not. At the time, the Raimi movies were awesome, but if you look back at the Raimi movies now, especially the scene where he's walking down the street and he's doing the bebop-a-lop thing with the horrible music in the back.
The third one's really bad.
Yeah, but now here's the thing, and I'm going to call you on this. Do you remember how many times you saw the third one in the theaters?
I saw it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember just how jazzed you were about it, but if you go back and look at it now, it's not that great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you and I think saw it twice together in like back-to-back days, and then I saw it with someone else just because they said, "Oh," and I was fine with it at the time. But then, like you said, you go back even like honestly 2 years after it happened, I went back and I think I watched it and it was like, "Ooh, this was not as good as." I was just so excited because Spider-Man
because
at the time,
Venom, you're getting Venom, and that's kind of the main bad guy of Spider-Man or whatever, but. It was cool, but then, like you said, looking back on it, the first and second one I think hold up, but the third one's a little weak.
The second one's very good. I think it kind of can match a lot of MCU stuff, really, in the quality of the movie and the way the plot moves along. And I really enjoyed it. I watched it, I think, last year, and I still enjoyed it. It has its flaws like anything, but I still thought it was good.
Did you watch the Garfield movies at all?
I watched the first one.
Are they worth checking out at all?
I only watched the first one, and I watched it once. And it's, I watched it on TBS or something one time, so you have commercial breaks and everything. That wasn't, optimal way of watching something like that, but I wasn't excited about going to the theaters to see it. There was nothing to me that made me like, ooh, I have to go see this.
The thing that I really liked about Homecoming, and I would say that I would say this about Batman versus Superman as well, and I know that I'm in the camp of people who the vocal minority, if you will, of people who actually like Batman versus Superman. But the thing that I liked about both of those movies were they respected us enough to know that we don't need to see Uncle Ben and Thomas Wayne die again.
Right. 100% agree. Yeah. I actually liked Batman versus Superman too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's good. I just that's one of those things, with both of them. I think we've been beaten over the head with it so much of Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, we get it. We don't need to see it again. And I like that they respected us enough to leave that out. They kind of mentioned it maybe off screen or whatever, but that was a good starting place, I think, for the MCU Spider-Man. But yeah, I think, looking at this roster and seeing that they're bringing Jamie Foxx in, and I did, just as an aside, see somewhere along the line they said he's not going to be Blue. which is good. But I just think that that's what this is pointing to, and if that's what it is, if they're going to be doing the Sinister Six, which is I think is what people would want to see. So if they're going to be doing that, then to me that whatever the next Spider-Man movie becomes automatically as exciting as Captain America: Civil War, which I dubbed Avengers Light, but that's just because of the sheer amount of spectacle and everything that's going to be on screen.
I also think that Tom Holland is now, probably the face of the MCU, and so you have to have a direction that takes these movies into another realm of thinking and another realm of how we absorb this, because of who's not a part of the MCU now.
Right. Like who's retired or
who's
what?
Retired and who's no longer with us. I mean, I think that plays a big role.
I mean, Chris Evans is out. RDJ's out. ScarJo's out after Black Widow, I assume.
I mean, you could maybe argue Brie Larson.
Well, I mean, I think Hemsworth is because, and he's come out and said,
yeah, sure. Yeah,
and he's come out and said that Love and Thunder is not going to be his last appearance as Thor. Which I kind of wish he wouldn't have said that, because it takes a little bit of the mystery away, because I think a lot of people thought that he was going to die.
Yeah, right.
Although maybe that's maybe it's him saying that's a misdirection. I don't know. It could be. Well, I think the unfortunate thing is that the reality of it is whether they wanted it or not, Chadwick Boseman was going to be the face of the MCU, and it's a shame.
Right.
We talked a little bit about that last week. The success of Black Panther was, I think they thought it was going to be successful. I didn't think that anybody thought it was going to be as successful as it was. And the issue is, and you brought up Brie Larson and Kevin Feige, the MCU, the Marvel boss, has said, she's going to be the focus. But I think that you can't jam that down people's throat. You can't say she's going to be the lead now, because people are just going to automatically reject that. I'm not saying it because it's a woman. I think that people want to make their own choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think at different times before, you could have said that the face of the MCU would have either been Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, or both, depending on what was happening at that particular time.
Or Chris Evans' beard, just as a standalone.
Right. What about Chris Hemsworth's dyed blonde beard in the first Thor movie?
Also good. And when he was Fat Thor.
Fat Thor was great. Bro Thor, I think they call him.
Bro Thor, yeah.
Yeah. All right, number two, more wall crawler news, but this is of the Sony PlayStation variety. The 2018 critical and commercial hit Spider-Man from Insomniac Studios will be making its way to PlayStation 5 in a very confusing way. Saddle up, because I'm going to spin a web for you, pun highly intended.
Whoa, hell yeah.
If you pre-order the Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition for PlayStation 5, you will be treated to the PlayStation 5 remastered version of Spider-Man 2018. However, if you purchase the PS4 version of Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, you will be able to upgrade to the PS5 at a later date, but you will have to pay an additional amount to unlock Spider-Man Remastered for PS5. Additionally, for those looking to purchase just Spider-Man 2018 Remaster on its own for PS5, at this point, you are out of luck. As of this time, you will only have access to the remaster if you are purchasing the Miles Morales Ultimate Edition for either PS5 or PS4. So this is highly confusing, and it's got a lot of people upset. And the reason being is that there's a lot going on with this remaster. This isn't a standard thing where they're just kind of treating it to a performance mode like a lot of the games that have come out late in the PS4 cycle. Like, for example, The Last of Us Part 2 is just going to get basically a new coat of paint for the PS5. They added some things. They actually changed the face model of Peter Parker, so it's a different face. And the new face guy looks vaguely like Tom Holland, which is weird. But a lot of people are upset that A, you can't buy Spider-Man 2018 on its own for PS5, and B, that it's walled behind this Miles Morales Ultimate Edition. Why not just say, okay, if you want Spider-Man 2018 here, you can pay the extra $20?
Yeah, I find this, like you said, it's very confusing. Why wouldn't they go that direction? I guess I don't understand what is there to gain? I don't know. That seems very confusing, and I'm not, as someone who doesn't do this that often, I am very interested in the Spider-Man games. I actually I'm going to wait till I get the PS5 and then have that awesome Spider-Man game. But what the heck? Why are they doing this?
There's some precedent before in this area. The South Park games. The first one was the Stick of Truth, and if you pre-ordered the South Park The Fractured Butthole, it was a great name, The Fractured Butthole, you got if you paid like the collector's edition fee, you got the Stick of Truth for free, or well, not really for free. You're paying the collector's fee for it, but you got it as an add-on. And that's what I think is. It seems like they're just trying to ring people's pockets here a little bit. But I really feel like the issue is, we talked about it on the first episode. We mentioned it a little bit on the last episode. Sony's getting a lot of bad press right now when it comes to the PlayStation launch, and this is not helping matters because this is very confusing. People just want to be able to have the up-res version of it, either from their previous purchase or to be able to buy a remastered version, and they're putting it behind a paywall with this other game. I mean, granted, I think most of the people who played Spider-Man 2018 are going to play Miles Morales. I mean, I definitely am, but at the same time, Miles Morales is going to be $50. The Ultimate Edition is going to be $70. Do I really want to pay an extra $20 for a game I already have? I don't know. Now, if you came back to me and said, hey, look, we're going to do Spider-Man 2018 remastered, put it on sale, pay $15 for it, then I'm probably going to buy it. But I just think the confusing nature and the messaging and everything it's a bad look. And again, I think either way, all the pre-orders are pretty much sold out for Xbox and PlayStation respectively. But the issue now becomes, what about the second wave? What about the second wave of these machines? Because I think you're going to see a lot of people flock to Xbox.
I think so too. You know, from our discussion in the previous episode, Xbox seems to be handling things way better. Sony seems to be just like winging it. I really do. They're just like, oh, this happened, we got to do this, and they're just kind of going way off board. Which, you know, I haven't paid as much attention over the years with the way it seems like Sony usually handles things decently well, but this time they just kind of lost it. I don't know if they're just they decide to have one more beer and just take the road going 70. I don't know, but this seems it's not going to change my mind just because I'm just used to Sony. But for guys that can go back and forth, for gamers that can go back and forth, I mean, Xbox seems like at least I know what I'm getting into. Sony have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation 3, Sony was a bit of a clown show, and then they kind of came out. They were humble. They knew that they had to make some changes in the PS4 era, and it worked. And the sales numbers speak. PlayStation 4 is wiping them out with Xbox One. But it almost seems like this is like cyclical, where PS2 wiped them out with everything. It's the highest selling console of all time, and then they were a little bit arrogant, and PS3 was a disaster. It ended up outselling Xbox 360 in the end, but it took literally 8 years to get there. And they dropped the ball in a lot of ways with the PS3, and then with the PS4 they came out. Xbox dropped the ball, and Sony seized the advantage. And now it seems like the pendulum's swinging back the other way. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna buy a PS5. I've got the finances. I keep hitting the refresh button on the Amazon page, but I'm looking maybe down the road at getting an Xbox. Maybe I don't think the big beefy one, but definitely the $299 one. I think that'd be a great purchase.
I don't disagree. After our discussion, I definitely was like, I might just get the Xbox just for fun.
Well, now I will say, and we talked about the exclusives and things like that. I know you're a big MLB The Show guy. MLB, this is worth noting for anybody who's an MLB guy. MLB went to Sony, who was exclusively publishing MLB The Show on only Sony consoles. So Sony for the last 12 years, where it's kind of like the Madden thing a little bit, but for like the last 12, 15 years, however long it's been, the only place you could get a good Major League Baseball simulation game was on a PlayStation because they own the rights. Well, Major League Baseball went back and told Sony, you're going to put it on every console or we're going to take the rights from you at the next contract thing. So we talked about, Xbox possibly publishing some of those Bethesda games like Fallout and Skyrim. Well, guess what? I got news for you. 2021, 2022. I can't remember exactly which one it is. You're going to see a Sony published game on Microsoft and Nintendo in Major League Baseball The Show.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely a game changer for a lot of people, I would imagine. I always keep it pretty simple with the games I like for any system at this point. Just I don't have the time, mostly is the reason. So the sports games are the easiest ones to bang out a few things, and having the access to the show on a cheaper system where I know where I'm getting. It seems like right now seems like a good option, especially like you and I think both can agree with. Like I have the finances to get both, and I may do so. If I didn't, and I'm a guy who is in the same position where I'm at, where I don't have the time, I'm getting that cheaper Xbox because I want the games that I thought I could only get from PlayStation, and now I can get it cheaper on a different thing, and it's not really probably going to matter that much.
I will say, and I know you're a Spider-Man guy, you got to play that Spider-Man game.
I know.
It's awesome.
I know. Yeah.
It is really good. Number 3, Disney announced that the 2019 critical and commercial hit CGI remake of The Lion King, which grossed $1.6 billion worldwide at the box office, will be getting a sequel. Jon Favreau, who directed the reimagined version of the classic tale of Simba, will not be returning to the helm, as he is busy with a host of other responsibilities, including The Mandalorian and probably popping up somewhere in Spider-Man. As a replacement, Disney has tabbed the Oscar-winning director of the film Moonlight, Barry Jenkins, as the next director. The writer of the 2019 version, Jeff Nathanson, returns, but the story will not take on the plot of any of the animated Lion King straight-to-VHS sequels, but will focus on a new story that furthers the characters as well as explores Mufasa's origin in a bizarre homage to The Godfather Part 2. It's also worth noting that many of the live-action remakes that Disney has been pumping out over these last few years are set to receive sequels, including 2019's Aladdin and Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book from 2016. Talk to me about some of these things.
I know it'll make money. I guess that's the thing, and that's Disney's mantra. It will make money, I think, is actually their tagline. If you look at your Disney Plus, it comes up very quickly, but it's underneath, it says, "We are making money. Don't worry about what we do." I don't care about. I actually didn't even see this first live Lion King because I was like, you can't beat the original animated version. That movie it was nominated for Academy Award. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure it was.
I think I mean it definitely won best animated. It might have been
best animated. Yeah. I don't know if it won Best Animated, and it wasn't. There's no way it could have been close. And then that's a lot of those animated movies. Sometimes years, but that was a great movie. I loved it as a kid. I watched it not that long ago. I'm like, this is still great because Disney knows what they're doing. But to come back with a live action, which I'm sure was fine. I didn't see it, but I probably will. I don't know if it warrants a sequel, or I guess if you're gonna say sequel, but it's Mufasa's story, maybe not even say it's a sequel. Just go in a different direction and say we're going with Mufasa's origin story. It's like a spin-off. I think
the plan is because they said it's going to be like the Godfather Part 2 compared to the Lion King is asinine. But right. If you remember the Godfather Part 2, where De Niro played a young Marlon Brando, and they just kind of spliced those things in to Al Pacino's story. I think that's what they're planning on doing. While we're sitting here, I did look this up. The Lion King 1995 won 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Original Score, Hans Zimmer, and Best Original Song, Elton John. They also won 2 Golden Globes, Best Motion Picture for a musical or comedy, and Best Original Score. It actually didn't win. It didn't win Best Animated Picture, or they didn't have it yet.
Oh, I think they didn't have it yet. I think that was right. It could only have been nominated. Yeah, that's a bummer if it, because it deserved. But it's not my personal favorite Disney movie, but I could definitely see the argument where it is the best Disney movie.
It's got some wild statistic where it's like the highest, adjusted for inflation, highest grossing animated film of all time.
Its PER is really good.
Yeah, yes. Obviously a lot of talented voice actors, and Elton John's music was incredible. I'll be honest with you, it's not my favorite Disney movie. It's not my favorite Disney animated movie. That honor would of course go to Aladdin.
I'm a Little Mermaid guy, but
yeah. That's fair. Have you seen any of these live action? Well, they're not live action. They're CGI.
I saw Cinderella.
Okay.
It's fine.
I actually really liked The Jungle Book.
I've heard only good things about that,
well,
actually.
I think primarily, there's a lot of good voice actors in it. Idris Elba plays Shere Khan the tiger. Baloo is voiced by Bill Murray, which is perfect. King Louie is Christopher Walken. Hearing Christopher Walken sing I Want to Be Like You is 10 out of 10. I really like The Jungle Book, but here's the thing. I really like The Jungle Book, don't need a sequel. I really like The Lion King, don't need a sequel. I didn't love the live action Aladdin, definitely don't need a sequel. Don't need Will Smith being blue, dancing around on screen. Here's my point of view with these movies. And I looked this up. It's worth noting that they have currently in production 10 classics from the vault that are either being reworked into sequels for already pre-existing remakes, new remakes, or they're going to be in theaters, or they're going to be on Disney Plus. Make something new. Make something new. We've seen The Lion King. We've seen Robin Hood. We've seen Robin Hood. If you count all the, Kevin Costner and the Jamie Foxx thing from like a couple years ago, and Russell Crowe, and all these different things, and Robin Hood being a fox, and Little John being a big bear. We don't need any more Robin Hood. We don't need any more Robin Hood. We certainly don't need Robin Hood CG Fox Robin Hood. That sounds awful. Make something new. Why do we keep going back to the well for Toy Story 4? Toy Story 4 wasn't that good. Toy Story 3 made me cry. Toy Story 4 wasn't that good. Frozen 2 was weird to me. Frozen was cool because it was different. Moana was cool because it was different, and it had The Rock in it singing. Any of those movies are good. Like that's something new. Do something new. I don't need The Lion King again. I don't need Aladdin again. I don't need The Little Mermaid. Any of that, Mulan. I don't care about these things. I don't want Hercules, but it's Armie Hammer or some weird guy being Hercules. I don't want any of that. I want people to make new things. I mean, make your story, I guess. I'm not a filmmaker, and like you said, these things make money. The Lion King here in 2019, $1.6 billion is nothing to sneeze at. Like you said, Disney, that's their money. I sat down the one time, I was looking at the movies that they had coming out in 2019, and it was like Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, the last Star Wars movie, Frozen 2. They might as well just own a mint and just print their own money.
You're completely accurate with all that. It was basically, I would love fresh content, but you could literally say that about the movie industry in general. How much fresh content do we actually get? And when we do, it's a lot of times it's really, really good. Like the Safdie brothers give us fresh content, and then it gets, it doesn't get the awards or the respect that it properly deserves. So people are like, let's give people what is just there, and we know people like. And it's the easiest route to go. And if you're making that kind of money, why not just go the easy route?
Sure, and I guess you could probably say I'm a bit of a hypocrite for being excited about the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie when it'll be the 12th time we've seen Spider-Man in the last 20 years.
But I'm excited about Batman with Robert Pattinson. We're going to be hypocrites with that. But I think the difference is I don't know. We're hypocrites, but I think the problem is that we have these great classic animated movies, which when you think of Disney, all I think about, because I don't think about Marvel being Disney, even though it is, and I just think of Disney. I think of just the class. I think of Mickey Mouse,
The Vault.
I just think of all these things I grew up with, and I don't want those to change. I sort of grew up with Spider-Man, but comic books it's a whole different thing. When you have the animated features, I think that's my thing, and why mess with perfection, because those are what those movies are.
I will say that I'm pulling a bit of a trick on my kids, because we're planning a Disney trip here at the end of 2021 it'll be both of their first time going to Disney World. And I made a list of all the classic movies in the vault, Pinocchio, Snow White, Cinderella, the whole way down through the 90s with like The Lion King and Aladdin and everything. And I've told both of my kids they literally won't let you in the theme parks unless you watch these movies. And they buy it hook, line, and sinker. So anytime they're acting up or need calm down, I say, well, why don't we check a movie off that list? And I go put like The Princess and the Frog on, and I can veg out for an hour and a half because they think that they won't be allowed into Disney World unless they finish this movie.
What a great plan that is. Also, that should be a rule. I'm not. Yeah, I feel like you should be able to tell me something about what they just randomly ask you a question from one of those movies, and if you miss it, you're
not allowed in. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 4, speaking of Disney, the entertainment giant announced a new feature on its streaming service, Disney Plus, called Group Watch. The email was sent out to subscribers in the United States. With Group Watch, you can share your favorite stories with your favorite people, even when you are apart. Pick your title, send an invite to up to 6 other accounts, sync streams to be able to pause or rewind simultaneously, and share emojis and reactions and chat with your phone in real time. This is, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I guess it's kind of the thing where if you're everybody, I think the closest thing I have to this is we're all watching the same sporting event. And
sure.
You're sending the texts and stuff back and forth. Maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. I'm also not that age where I think this matters.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
you and I have both
Sure.
eclipsed this.
Sure.
This is TikTok stuff where I know it exists. I understand why it's appealing. I neither have the interest or the time unless you show up on my Instagram, and then maybe I'll care a little bit. But I get it. I understand why people want to do it, especially in a time right now, in the time of Corona. It's just, that gives you a little bit of socialization.
Sure. I had a roommate in college who he graduated and moved to Florida, and him and his girlfriend would watch movies over the phone together. And now I think, like, right now we're recording this with a Zoom thing, and it's like, I mean, you could just do that. I mean, or
Right.
just not at all. But like you said, I mean, we're maybe past the age bracket that this is maybe sort of targeted to.
We're old,
Yeah, I mean,
relatively speaking, to these kind of things.
right. Well, every day I get out of bed and I sound like 1,000 mousetraps going off. Number
I'm
5.
still running sub 7 miles though, so
Well,
that's good.
that's great. I'm eating blizzards in sub 7 minutes. Number 5, the long-awaited fourth mainline entry in the Crash Bandicoot series, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, released to initial critical success on October 2nd to PS4 and Xbox One. Following the success of the remaster and release of the original Naughty Dog Crash trilogy, the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and the remaster of Crash Team Racing, developer Toys for Bob bring us Crash 4 a full 22 years after the last mainline Crash Bandicoot game was released all the way back in 1998 by Naughty Dog. Crash Warped on the PlayStation 1. Crash Bandicoot is largely identified as Sony's first mascot that was kind of designed to compete with Nintendo. Were you a Crash guy back in the day?
I owned the first one.
And
I
never
loved it.
beat it because it is as
Well, you feel
hard as a diamond.
I don't remember ever beating it. And maybe I have no idea. I remember it starts out where you feel like you're going to beat it. It reminded me of like Donkey Kong Country, where I beat that game in like 2 hours, and I was like immediately mad because I was like, "What the heck?" Crash Bandicoot starts off where you're like, "I'm going to beat this game pretty quickly," and then you get frustrated. It's like trying to play the original Mario Brothers right now.
Yeah,
I would have no chance.
The difficulty. Well, here's the thing: was I bought the Insane Trilogy on sale, as I do, at some point somewhere along the line after it came out, and I was screwing around with the first one. Like you said, the first level is like, okay, this is easy, I can do this. Second level, it ramps up a little bit, and I don't even know what level I'm on by now, but it's just like, I'm never going to play this again because I can't get through this. It's horrible. It's just so unforgiving, and it's so difficult. Anybody who is, maybe it's an age thing, because like you said, playing the original NES Mario right now is like good luck. Maybe it's an age thing where I just don't have it anymore. I'm past my prime as a gamer. Maybe. I don't think I am. I'm still playing pretty difficult games and doing pretty well in them. But there's something about Crash, man. That game is just hard. It's just a hard game.
Did you ever play the Ninja Turtles for NES? That first one. That game is actually impossible.
Well,
there's no way anyone's ever beat that.
Here's
game,
the thing:
by the
was our good buddy Ty, and I had that for the Wii. Because you could download the old games, for the Wii.
Oh, right.
So everybody knows the water level. The water level is just like insanely hard. Well, we were cheating our way through it. We were using the state save feature. So every time we die, we just go back to the place where we screwed up and then start again and then get a little bit further state save. And when you have a game that's that hard, man, it's kind of cheating. It's kind of not. In my opinion, that Ninja Turtles game is notoriously difficult. It ranks up there with like Ninja Gaiden and Battletoads. Those games, if somebody came along and was like, "Hey, this is what I got on my trophy shelf. I got Battletoads, I got Ninja Turtle, and I got all Ninja Gaiden games. I can beat them. My hat's off to you, sir. Or madam.
Yeah,
tip the cap. Number 2, respect.
I played the Ninja Turtle game, 8 years ago. Got to the water level, no problem.
Yeah.
And then I just started having PTSD.
Right.
As a child, I was like, oh my god, what do I do?
Yeah.
How do I do this?
Yeah, those, I don't know what it is, man. Those Ninja Turtle games are insanely hard. The only one that I remember having any success with was Turtles in Time, which was a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
It was a port of an arcade game. It wasn't too bad. It was more of a side-scroller beat 'em up. Those are pretty easy. But those, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I said, our good friend Ty, who this is his second straight week making a cameo appearance. We tried as we might. I don't think we even beat it, even though we were trying to game the system.
It was always odd to me that his Donatello's staff got really big.
Yes, it was huge. Like,
yeah, it got really huge. Yeah, HGH probably.
Most likely. Yeah. Well, I think they were already on TGH, Turtle Growth Home. No. Okay.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. Splinter, he had a good mix going.
Number 6, and this was another one. I wasn't gonna include this until I kind of like just how weird it is. Amazon. As in Amazon, predicts the future. Amazon Prime series Utopia, a science fiction drama about a graphic novel titled Dystopia that predicts the future specifically in regards to different diseases like Ebola and H1N1, accidentally predicted COVID. The series wrapped filming in October of 2019 and began airing in September 2020. Prior to the first episode, Amazon displayed the following disclaimer. This program is a work of fiction not based on actual related or current events. It contains scenes that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. So I've only watched the first episode of this, but in it there's a scene where like one of the characters is watching the TV at like a party or a bar or whatever. And, the whole thing's about this comic book that predicts these terrible events or terrible diseases and pandemics and stuff like that. And they're taking on this TV in this bar in the show, they're like taking kids out of a school and they're like mild fever, can't breathe, cough, kids on vents. And I'm like, that's COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that they realize that, and especially in the time that we're in right now where everything's so horrible, they felt the need to put that disclaimer on. I know there's been other things that there was some book in the 80s. The name and the author escapes me that predicted like this pandemic that came from like the Wuhan province. It was just like so eerily coincidental. I don't know about this show. Like I said, I've only watched the first episode. It kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. I might stick with it. I might not. It's only one season. But what do you think about this show predicting the future?
That kind of stuff always creeps me out. Lawrence Wright, who's probably better known for his nonfiction, wrote a work of fiction this year called The End of October that is pretty much this. It's about a virus that takes over. There's actually a scene in the book where the president is doing a speech and starts coughing blood. So,
we haven't hit that one yet.
Weird. We haven't hit that, as far as we know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was, but anyhow. Yeah, this stuff's weird. There's probably people out there who are like, well, yeah, you can just write these kind of books and eventually things will happen.
Sure.
But still, for it to happen in the year that this does happen creeps me out. I don't know. Is Marty McFly around? Possibly. Maybe this is what's happening. Another Back to the Future reference. I think that kind of tells you that we love Back to the Future, by the way.
I've never seen any of them.
Yeah, neither have I. Right?
Okay.
No.
No,
Back
I
to the
seriously
Future.
have never seen any of them. I've never seen any Back to the Future movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I am shocked by that.
Yeah. Never one.
You would love them. I know you would.
I probably would. You
should do that.
Guess what? I'm going to blow everybody's mind. I've never seen Step Brothers.
That awkward science is brought to you by Pam or Pan. Pam? Pam. You need to see this. Well, that's going to be a stipulation when you visit me out here, that
Okay.
you have to have watched Back to the Future, the trilogy, and Step Brothers. I'll tell you that right now.
Can I just watch Step Brothers?
You can watch the first Back to the Future and Step Brothers. I won't make you watch all three.
Okay. Well, which one takes place in the Old West? I know that's a thing.
2.
Can I watch that one? Can I skip one and go
3.
straight to the second one?
You want to go? You can, but the first one's really good. I mean, we rewatched them recently. I always get them confused too because I always rewatch them all together.
Yeah, sure.
And so
that's probably like the one hole
Yeah.
in my videography, if you will, that probably gets my my nerd card taken, is that I've never seen any of the Back to the Future movies. I think I've probably seen like bits and pieces of them, when they're on TNT or whatever. But yeah, I don't.
I mean, that's definitely
Okay.
Yeah, part 3 is the Old West. I'm sorry. I was saying that initially. Yeah, but it's part 3. My brain just got a little off there. But yeah, you would love them. You need to watch Step Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, well,
it's incredible. It's
that's one of those
filmmaking
things
at
that,
its
like,
finest.
I even never saw Anchorman for like the first 2 years after it was out. And then when I finally saw it, there's scenes and I lost my mind laughing at it. I'm sure it would be the same thing.
Sure. Yeah. I don't even know where we got to this. Oh, because of viruses and people predicting things. Yeah, it's weird. That kind of stuff always creeps me out. I wish someone would write a book where I somehow obtain millions of dollars, and that happens. That's what I'm rooting for next.
Like you said, I mean, if you throw enough nets into the sea, you're going to catch a fish eventually. I think that's certainly a little bit of the case here, but at the same time, when you have the premise of the story is that this thing predicts viruses, and then it accidentally or coincidentally, whatever you want to call it, predicted the virus, or at least the symptoms of the virus that we're all currently going through. I mean, that's just strange times that we're living in here.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure when Amazon, was doing this and then all this happened, I'm sure their brains.
I'm not sure. I think this is it's probably based on a graphic novel. I know HBO had it first, and they kicked it, and Amazon picked it up. So, not that that's, I guess, super relevant. All right, quick hitter time. Charlie Brown and the Peanuts Gang celebrated its 70th anniversary October 2nd. Better special, Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown or Christmas Charlie Brown?
Both very depressing.
Well, that was.
It's always the thing. I think Great Pumpkin, Great Pumpkin and the Christmas tree, they get at your heart at the end. They hit you. I'm going to go Christmas.
I am too, and this was
over.
I don't know if you saw my little ad campaign on my Instagram story today with the music. That was Christmas Time Is Here from Charlie Brown Christmas Special.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think they're both good. I don't think the Halloween one pays off as much as you would like. I know I'm the 9 billionth person. God, Charlie Brown gets treated like such crap, and it just bugs me. I'm not gonna lie. It really, he did nothing wrong. The poor guy has just a few little hairs. Give him a break.
He's pretty much a human punching bag for sure. But at least he's got Snoopy.
Yeah, Lucy needs to chill. Do you think grown up they're together?
I don't want to think of them as grown ups. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm going to be real with you. My favorite thing about visiting my grandparents when I was a kid was that they kept how every issue has the funnies or the comic strips or whatever, but the Sunday one had them in color, and they would always keep the color ones laying around for me for Peanuts, Garfield, Hagar the Horrible, Beetle Bailey. Far Side, of course.
Mother Goose and Grimm.
BC, Far Side. All great stuff. For some reason, my grandma was really into that Prince Valiant. I thought it was lame. But, teach his own. PS Plus and Xbox Games with Gold offerings have been announced for the month of October and are live for download as the time of this will post. PS Plus offers up Vampire and Need for Speed Payback. Xbox offers a slate of Halloween-themed games for the month, including Slayaway Camp Butcher's Cut, Maid of Sker, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, and Costume Quest. Now, there's some different dates for the Xbox games, and I don't know if this is something that they do all the time, where they split their dates up strangely, or if that's just something for this month. I'm not an Xbox guy. I don't have Games with Gold, so I don't know if this is a regular thing. But make sure that if you are a subscriber of either of these services, even if you have no intention of playing these games at this time, you add them to your download list in case they tickle your fancy at a later date. I mentioned I have 266 PS4 games. This is a big reason why. I get 2 free games every month since 2013 November, and I download them or I put them on my list regardless if I'm going to play them or not. Sometimes I get back to them, sometimes I don't. So if you're a PS Plus subscriber, make sure you claim your games, even if it's just to make your library look a little bit more impressive. Okay, next up, Cyberpunk 2077 from developer CD Projekt Red has gone gold, meaning the game is content complete and has been submitted for certification. CD Projekt Red has come under fire as of late for mandatory overtime to crunch the game towards completion. The highly anticipated game is the studio's first since The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And I wrote this down just as an aside that Cyberpunk has been in development for at least 8 years. I almost threw this into the headlines. Let me tell you why. They were told for the workers in CD Projekt Red, which is in Poland, were told that they were going to have to work they were going to have to work 6 shifts a week for the last 6 weeks before this game was out. And there was a large contingency of folks online in the Twitter sphere who were aghast by these people having to work 6 shifts in a week for 6 weeks. And it's worth noting that the average bonus, not the salary, the bonus for CD Projekt Red employees for the next year is probably going to come in at about $50,000. So, I've worked jobs where, as a salary worker, they say, well, you're going to have to stay another 8 hours. You're going to stay after another stay. I've had 24-hour shifts. I'm not going to boo-hoo over these guys going to make more than I make in a year on their bonus, having to work 6 extra weeks, 6 extra shifts in 6 extra weeks.
I've been doing 6 days a week forever now.
With a surgical mask strapped to your face.
Yeah. I got a mask. There's 2 days a week where I'm wearing a mask 13 hours a day. When I worked at the newspaper, I was doing, back in PA, I was doing hours that weren't accounted for. I was working Sundays because I had to just be on my computer because, I couldn't necessarily, be away. So, How about, wah. I'm going to play my little tiny violin here for you. Violin. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the employees are complaining or griping. It's just that this, like I said, a vocal minority of games journalists are pushing their agenda a little bit. Fall Guys Season 2 begins October 8th with new minigames, more accessible crowns, and even more hidden abs and nipples. The season will be live when this show appears on podcast services. There is a trailer for one of the minigames called Night Fever. It looks horrifying if you've played Fall Guys. I am in a time warp. We were texting yesterday. I said I'm going to go play Season 2 of Fall Guys. I thought it was October 8th literally all day yesterday until I got on and realized that it was October 5th.
That's easy to do.
It sucks getting old.
Yeah, it sucks getting old, but you're excited for nips and hidden abs. Who wouldn't be?
Right.
I mean, that's part of the... it looks terrifying. I knew about it, but when you actually told me to look this up, I'm so terrified by Fall Guys. I don't want to be around it. I'm scared it'll be in my. I already have weird enough dreams. I don't need Fall Guys to come flying in there. Falling in there. Yeah.
Beat you to the punch. New music last Friday: Bon Jovi, 21 Savage, Blackpink, Bryson Tiller. Anything worth listening to that's new?
I listened to the new Shawn Mendes song. I like Shawn Mendes. I'm hoping that he and Camila Cabello are still together. They were recording together. People are concerned. It's a good song. If you are into that, Wonder's a fine song. The number one song in the country on iTunes right now, though, by a little-known band called Fleetwood Mac, called Dreams. It's number one. It's also number 10 because you can get it in 2 different versions because some guy on TikTok put it up and people are like, oh my gosh, what's this new band with these amazing musicians? Little known band. If you want to check out somebody under the radar, I would suggest Fleetwood Mac.
Under the radar?
I would suggest they're maybe my third favorite band of all time. And 7 years Stevie Nicks is next level. But I don't know. I tried to listen. I listened to Blackpink because they were with Lady Gaga. It's fine. A lot of the new music, I know I'm the old guy in the room. It sounds very similar to another song that just came out. That's what I mean. It's just every song kind of sounds the same. You got to be a little different. It's why I think that I've just kind of stayed with what I say. You and I are in that same thing. I went and listened to Continuum by John Mayer last week. It's still one of my favorite albums. It still rocks. I still think it's better than anything right now. We're old. That's what old guys do. I've been listening
to Blood Sugar Sex Magic for 30 years.
Nothing wrong with that. It's great. There's not many albums better than that you could just chill with.
Stand the test of time.
Yeah, and, listen to Van Halen today.
Speaking of, and as you kind of mentioned earlier, Eddie Van Halen, famed guitarist, passed away at the age of 65 today. I thought he was older than that, honestly.
I did too. I knew he was dealing with throat cancer. I remember hearing something about that before. If he's not in your top 3, 4, 5 favorite guitarists of all time, you're probably wrong, or you don't really listen to rock music. I mean, I don't mean just there's a lot. But you think the way he put on his display, the way people have mimicked him over the years, he's also one of those guys, as someone who's played guitar and attempts to do it every once in a while and just gets frustrated. He made it look so easy. Because he's moving around, he's crushing, he's singing along, and he's just crushing riffs and whatever. And also, Van Halen was probably my first real introduction to rock music.
So, which is the better version, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? Hagar?
Give me David Lee Roth every single day. The guy was an athlete. He was jumping around.
Go ahead.
A fun fact. My mom saw Van Halen in concert a moon or so ago, and she not only saw them. She not even. Hey, come on. She's young at heart. And she saw David Lee Roth's butt. He was in chaps.
Who didn't?
So that's fun. That's a little fun thing there. No, Eddie Van Halen, he's legendary. I think every guitar player, that's pre him, post him, is always kind of looked at him as a fun guy. Also, he played on Michael Jackson's Bad, which is always cool.
Borat 2, starring Sacha Baron Cohen, will be released on Amazon Prime October 23rd. I'm going to give you the first name. I'm going to give you the new name. Gift of pornographic monkey to Vice Premier Mikhail Pence to make benefit recently diminished nation of Kazakhstan. That was scrapped. And then delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan. Do you have any intention of watching this movie?
Maybe by accident. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I know there's but the thing is, I think the things that will be funny will just pop up and I'll watch those. Yeah, but I'm not going to really sit through the whole movie. Yeah,
the very funny parts will probably work their way onto YouTube. I saw the first one. I've seen the first one the whole way through one time. It's extremely offensive, and that's what makes it funny, obviously.
Right.
But the scene with him and the dude running through the hotel naked, I lost my mind when that happened.
It's incredible.
I lost my mind. And I was reading at some of the things they do for the second one. It's going to be probably even more offensive. Sacha Baron Cohen gave a very impassionate speech, not in character or anything, regarding his politics, and I think that you're going to see some of that shine through to the movie in a comedic way. It's going to be really offensive. Probably people are going to hate it. A lot of people are going to hate it.
People hate everything, though. I mean, that's just one of those things too.
Sure.
He doesn't care,
No. Conan the Barbarian, series in development by Netflix. We going to get an Arnold cameo?
If we don't, it's blasphemy. He has to be in it. Yeah, why do it if he's not in it? Is what I want to know. Like, who's asking for this?
No one.
Right, yeah.
No one.
It's
crazy. No reason to see Arnold, I guess.
Yeah.
The Governor. Were you in California any time that he was the governor?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't. It all runs together.
It all runs together. Yeah.
More movies have been delayed. No Time to Die. The latest Bond film has been pushed, as well as Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which has been bumped from October 21st, 2021, all the way back to May 2022. And then just announced today, Jurassic World Dominion has also been pushed from 2022. These announcements on the heels of all of the Marvel movies being bumped back. Oddly enough, The Matrix is actually being pushed forward. Matrix 4. I think this it is what it is, and they're just going to be, these are all, like we've said, these are all big movies. None of these are going straight to stream. Now, I did see online today that, and I don't believe it. I don't know if the source was credible or not, that if they don't feel comfortable putting a movie out in theaters in December, that they're going to send Wonder Woman 84 to straight to stream. They don't want to bump it back any further, but I don't think they're going to send it to on demand. I just don't think they're going to.
There's no way that happens.
But I guess we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, here's the one thing. Let's pretend that the world goes back to whatever normal is. But, man, we are going to get some great movies just all the time.
Yeah, you're going to get, the way it's been like, you get one of these big movies like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. For the next couple of years, you're going to get one like once a month.
Yeah.
But that's also going to be a problem because people are going to have to pick and choose, because we talked about how expensive going to the theater is. If I have to choose between Wonder Woman and Black Widow, I don't know which one I'm picking. I'm not going to see both in the theater. You know what I mean?
I'm going to pick Black Widow because,
See, I don't know.
I mean, and Florence Pugh's in it, and I have a crush on
Did you see Wonder Woman?
I haven't seen Wonder Woman.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I know it's great. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to go see it, and then I just didn't for whatever reason.
It's the best of all the DC movies. Now, I haven't seen Aquaman, so I can't say that definitively, but it is.
I'm sure I would like
Wonder
it very
Woman's
much.
Well, here's the thing: is I think the movie that it compares most closely to is going to be Captain America and the First Avenger, because they're both period pieces. They're both World War II settings.
Right. Yeah.
So I know that Gal Gadot.
I think it's
Is the T silent?
I think the T is pronounced.
Well, her. Anyway, she does an incredible job, and she really hits it out of the park. Wonder Woman, yeah, you definitely have to see. Here goes the thing: is you say I have to see Back to the Future, you got to see Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Marvel Comics will be highlighting the next generation of elite artists in their Stormbreakers lineup. The lineup will highlight 8 artists over the next 2 years on different titles, some popular and some a bit more obscure. One name to keep an eye on is Patrick Gleason, who will be animating the next run of The Amazing Spider-Man. Gleason did some excellent work that I'm pretty familiar with on DC's some various runs of Superman. I go through fits and starts of reading comics. Like, I'll read comics like really seriously where I'm getting everything for like 3 months, and then I won't read anymore for like a year. But I recall at one point when I was hitting the DC stuff pretty hard that this guy was the main artist behind any of the Superman comics that were tolerable to me. I don't care for Superman. He's a boring character. I mean, he's super man.
Yeah.
And he's just not that interesting. But some of the runs that I did read through were decent were drawn by Patrick Gleason, and he's going to be doing Spider-Man, and that's the big one for Marvel. So if you're getting a crack at Spider-Man, then that's good on you.
I'm on the same thing. I usually just wait for the graphic novels where I get all the editions in one.
Yeah.
So that's how I caught up with the new Captain America and the Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther. Up with those through those, which I thoroughly enjoyed both. And
I would recommend the last one that I read of any. Well, I got the Joker 80th anniversary issue, and it's like a collection. I wanted that because Gary Whitta, who wrote Star Wars Rogue One, wrote one of the stories in the Joker book. So I got that. But the last one that I actually read that I really liked was The War of Jokes and Riddles, which is a Batman novel. But it's a periodical or whatever they're called. Quarterly, I don't know. But it's really good. It takes place like the year after Batman kind of emerges, and it's literally a war between the Joker and the Riddle to see who gets to kill Batman. So it's pretty cool.
Sounds fun.
Somebody sucker punched our boy Rick Moranis.
I can't believe somebody didn't sucker punch this guy.
But
what the heck? Yeah, I'm like, my goodness, who? But like when we talked about it, it's almost it frustrates me. I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah, he did say he was fine. I don't. Yeah. They couldn't have known it was national treasure Rick Moranis.
No, yeah, they had to. I don't know. It bums me out. You sucker punch anyone, that just bums me out. But when you punch American treasure Rick Moranis, especially after we just talked about him, that was the weird thing. Yeah, maybe
we predict the future.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, if that's the case, there's a vaccine right around the corner. So explain this Rihanna Amazon thing to me that keeps popping up on my home screen.
Okay, so Rihanna, who I love that should go into that music. She needs to have a new album, by the way, because Anti was great. So she has a lingerie line. She also has a makeup line, but the lingerie line is Savage X Venti, and she had a fashion show, and it streamed on Amazon. A little bit of backlash, not the good kind of backlash of something you can handle pretty easily. They used a song that oh boy, it used an Islamic slur. It hit on text. She apologized today on Instagram. I saw it, and that's good. That's what you can do. It's ignorant to even have that be a part of the show, especially when the whole fashion line is about inclusivity and just like everybody is in her makeup line's very much that too. So sad that worked. It went that direction. I'm sure the show will figure out some way to. I mean, I'm sure the re-airings won't even have that in there. When you go back, it's probably not there. I haven't watched it yet. Just haven't honestly had the time to do it. Yeah, that's basically it. She had a fashion show, and this is how you do fashion shows now, because you can't have people grouped together.
Sure. Well, isn't this week Paris Fashion Week?
It is.
Are they doing everything virtually? I mean, not that
they are. Yeah,
care in the slightest.
You're a fashionable guy.
I'm not. I buy 100% of my shirts at Walmart, and 100% of them have cartoon characters on them.
Nothing wrong with that.
What are you watching, listening to, all that good fun stuff?
Listening to, like I said, I went back to Van Halen today. For the most part, listening to has been pretty much podcast, like our own. Watching, just hitting the MLB playoffs, NBA finals, like we discussed. Gonna get in a Halloween movie since it's the time of the year. We like to try to watch as many as possible. Probably a little hocus pocus in the clear future. So,
excellent choice.
Doing that. I'm reading a book called Why We Drive. It's a philosophical book about like the idea of why driving is appealing to a lot of people, but also just completely dangerous and scary, and yet we still do it. So that's what I'm reading right now, and it's by Matthew B. Crawford,
as opposed to Matthew Berry.
Exactly,
the talented Mr. Roto.
Yes.
So I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for Fall Guys season 2. I did catch up completely on The Boys. There's one episode left. I started that show Utopia. Like I said, we'll see. I'll give it another couple episodes. I mean, it's only 8. There's only one season, so I'll probably wind up sticking it the whole way through. I have a couple other things on the burner that I might throw in there. In the spirit of October and Halloween, I've been playing the Castlevania Requiem collection, and that's 2 games. And these are older games. The first one is Rondo of Blood. No, not Rage on Rondo of Blood. I knew you were going to make that joke, so I was just going to beat you to the punch. It was released on the Turbo Graphics 16 back in 1993, so it's pretty old, and it was on a system that doesn't have a lot of a play with a lot of people. I've beaten it both ways. There's 2 characters to beat it with. I'm going back through and getting like all the alternate paths with the different optional bosses and things like that. It's hard. It's not as hard as some of those other games that we were talking about. I think part of it is just like when it comes to these old school retro games, my skill set is just slowly deteriorating over time. Where I'm just not as good at these games as I used to be. The second game is Symphony of the Night. It was on PlayStation 1 in 1997. Symphony of the Night is a masterpiece. It's one of those games that it looks good, it plays good, it sounds good, the soundtrack's amazing, it's very haunting. You kill Dracula in all these games, they all take place in Transylvania, so the soundtrack plays into it. That's what I'll be playing next after I finish like all the side stuff in Rondo of Blood. So I'll be playing Symphony of the Night. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a really long time since I played it, but it's worth noting that this collection is on sale right now for $8 on the PlayStation Network. It's called the Big in Japan sale. Now that sale is going to be over by the time this posts live, but they also always do a Halloween sale towards the end of the month. And given the content, the subject matter, I'm 99.9% sure that this would be included in that sale as well whenever it rolls around. So $8 for 2 games, and like I said, one of them, Symphony of the Night, is a masterclass in this type of 2D side-scroller game. It's something that I think everybody should play. It's on the same level it's on the same level for me as like Mario and some of the old Final Fantasies and things like that, just as far as the quality of the game. So yeah, I mean, other than that, just kind of the other thing I wanted to give a shout out to was I found this playlist on Spotify called Essential Alternative. And it's like somebody rated my brain for 225 songs that I've just listened to over the last 15 years. It's all like Cage the Elephant, and Modest Mouse, and Weezer, and all those bands that I really enjoy listening to. So Essential Alternative on Spotify. That's on there. You can check that out as well. So that pretty much wraps everything up. I would just say, as we've said in the past, if you listen to this podcast and you enjoy it, tell 2 of your friends, and let's hope one of them listens to it. We're trying to build our audience.
Tell your mothers.
Tell your moms. We're going to continue to to deliver the goods on a week-by-week basis with fresh content and interesting conversations about some of the topics that we talk about, as well as some of the the jokes and things like that. I will say that we are planning on, in the near future, depending on each of our schedules, to do like a top 10 albums list. And we're going to kind of use the Rolling Stone Top 500 as a kind of like a map for how we want to do that. So what I'm asking the audience to do is to submit, maybe, I don't want to do everybody's top 10 if we get a lot of submissions, which I'm hoping we do. I hope we get great crowd participation, to send in to either our email, bxgpodcast@gmail.com, or text one of us, or send us a message on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, with your top 5 albums, your favorite 5 albums of all time. Anybody who sends it in, I guarantee you'll be read. Your top 5 albums of all time will be read, or your top 5 favorite will be read on the podcast. I think this is going to be one of those sort of supplemental things that we're going to try and do that'll be interesting and fun, and give everybody maybe a different sense of who we are and why one of my favorite albums of all time is Saturday Morning Cartoons Greatest Hits.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what will probably not make mine is anything that is currently out there right now today.
Yeah, that's a pretty good chance. But
yeah,
I digress. Follow Greg on Twitter and Instagram at GT Filson and GT Phils respectively. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Y2BWHY, the number 2BEE, on both of those. Subscribe, leave kind reviews, share, recommend to your friends, tell your parents about the unmistakable essence that is the BXG podcast.
Subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe again. We want you. Five star. Tell everyone. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Take care.